Hello friends, you're with Lonesome Gamer and I'm playing Empires of the Middle Ages. And this is now the first turn we're gonna do after a little bit of a chaotic introductory video. And I've already said this is gonna be a long one. So it's the year 771, and for now we only have the Frankish Empire ruled by Charlemagne and the Byzantine Empire ruled by Constantine V. We've checked already in the last video if there would be a schism or not. That wasn't, and it remains there is no unification of the churches, and raiders will also not appear in this turn. So then we have to check for a magnet, and we also have to roll a die here. And here we have the magnet appearance table. So on a 1 or 2 we would actually see a magnet who would be ruling his own little empire. So let's see. And that's the case right away. Pretty crazy start here. So we got to roll now. That was a 2. We check the magnet matrix number 2, which is that one here. So let's see where this guy shows up. That is a 10. Oh no, actually, I see. We have to roll once for the upper row and once for the side. So this is the upper row here. That's a 2. And then on the side we have also a 2. So that would be Aragon. And that is not good news for Charlemagne, because he is confronted right away by this magnet. Now let's see what happens now. So we have now this guy here in Aragon, and that is a more ambitious king who tries to expand his empire. And the way he does that is, we have here he goes for the area with the highest social state that he can conquer, that is adjacent to his area. Now all the areas adjacent here have a social state of 0, except that one which has a +1, his own social state, his own area here. So then the next tiebreaker is the area which is the most similar in religion and language, and that would be Valencia, because this guy is Muslim and Valencia is also Muslim and shares the same language here. The magnet always has a combat value or a combat ability of 5, a combat stature of 5, and he gets now also 5 of these cards. And he's going to use 4 of them to do conquest or, under specific circumstances, pillage actions. And he's going to keep 1 for defense. So he's going to Valencia, and he's got a 5 as a base value, a +1 for his base area. That gives him a 6. We don't have to subtract anything here because it's the same religion. The base area, the social state is 0. It's the same religion, same language. So it's a 6. And let's see what we get. Well, the result is simply nothing. But the active base takes a -1 if he is below 8. And that is the case. So what happens is, instead of a +1, we have now a 0 here. There we go. And that is kind of surprising. We see down here the leader checks. And that is a card which shows every number. So if this card is used, no matter, the leader will always die because every number possible is affected here. The magnet had a 5 as a combat value, and yeah, that card already made him die. So that was a very short appearance here. All that happens is that he kind of wrecked Aragon a little bit, and then the magnet goes away. Maybe in the first battle against Valencia he was already killed. So that was a strange start of the game, definitely. And yeah, I mean, it was kind of good luck for Charlemagne. Okay, that was the magnet phase of the first turn. And then we come to the initiative determination. And here, the player with the highest overall rating. So in his case it would be an 18. In his case it would be a 11. This player can choose when he wants to go. And then the second player could choose when he wants to go. And then the third player, and so on. So in this case, Charlemagne wants to go last. So does he? That's an interesting question. I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think he wants to go last. It's probably not that important right now. So that means the Byzantine player will start, and what he does is he draws first an event card. So let's see what we get. That is a Year of Plenty. And oh, look at that. It affects right away his regions. That's pretty good because the social state increases by 1 in most of these regions here. So just gonna place a few new counters, and we're back in a second. So let me think what could be my goals here at the beginning. I think an interesting option would be to try to get these areas here where I already have claims. That could bring me into conflict, of course, with Charlemagne. So, I think I definitely want to try to get Naples. Why not? So let's try to do that. We start here from Apulia, and we have a 5 here as a base value. Then we got to subtract 1, so that's a 4. And I'm not going to do all that stuff into detail all the time, just the first turn or so, and then I'm going to do most things off camera and just show the results. So that would be a 4. And then we attack here. This is a social state of 0, so no effect, but it is Roman Catholic, which is a different church. And it's also a different language than the language of my leader. Here, not the language of the base area matters, but the language of the leader. And my leader has this Hellenistic language, while this is a 12, it's some kind of Romanic language, I guess. So it's not even similar or related, but it's unrelated. So let's see, we are at 4, we have a different church. So that would be a 3 then, and an unrelated language, that would be only a 1. So I guess I want to pay money to improve my odds here. So I'm going to pay $6 and then draw a card and we'll see what we get. Okay, that was good enough. We have a 6, we had a 7, so conquest, if we have a 6 or more, so we took the area. The target will suffer -1 because we have also greater 5, and the base doesn't suffer because we are also above 4. So we got to reduce this by 1. But it now belongs to... Well, actually that's not quite true. We have to do another attack because there are 2 populations here. And we have to do a successful attack for every population. Oh no, actually it's Naples. For every population in there. So we have to do another successful attack to do it. And I didn't really keep that in mind. So, seems I have to pay another 5 here. Or maybe another 6. Well, another 5 would give me, I think, the same result. Let's see. And I also forgot to pay the $2 for the attack. So that's also something I gotta do. So I will actually have to place a partial marker here for the moment. That indicates that I attacked once, but I haven't done it yet. I think I need more money to do a second successful attack. Now that brings us to the taxation. Once per player turn, a player can do a taxation. And you basically can tax all the provinces with a positive social state. And you can take as much money from the provinces up to their social state. But the more money you take, the higher the risk that there will be unrest or even a rebellion. So, let's see. We have here, of course, again, some tables. And you can always tax your court area, and there is never a threat that something negative happens. So we can take 3 bucks from here. Oops. And now let's see, we can take from Asia, for example, also 2 bucks. That's definitely tempting. And we're gonna go now through the tables once again. So let's see where we find some here. That's gosh, here's the rebellion value. Okay, so we got to check that table here. So the area's language is related to, but not the same. No. Unrelated. No. If the area is Christian. Nope. Different religion. Area is connected to an independent area of the same language. That is not the case. For each gold point a player is attempting to obtain in taxes. So I want 2 gold points. Okay, so and I think a diplomatic tie would give me an advantage here. Okay, so I just checked it, and actually a claim doesn't help you during a rebellion check. Only a tie would help you. So that means the area, because we taxed it, we wanted 2. So that means the area has a rebellion value of 2. And now we're going to roll 2 dice and see the result. Now that's an 8, and as you can see here, nothing happens. A 2 to 4 or an 11 and 12 would have brought this area into unrest, and a rebellion would have been impossible. So that means we simply get 2 more bucks. So we are already at 5. And basically that way we simply now continue. We try to get a buck from here. And I'm going to simply roll 2 dice, and if it becomes something more, I don't know, like a 2, 3 or 4, or like 11 or 12, I'm going to calculate it. Otherwise I'm just continue. That's a 7. That's definitely not a negative result for me. So that gives me another buck. Trebizond. Okay, that's another one. And let's see, we can do the same in Adrianople. And it would be helpful to have some kind of a dice tray actually. Okay, so here we are. This is probably the only time that I'm gonna really show all these rebellion rolls, because it's pretty boring and there's not a lot to see here. Let's do Greece. Okay, that's maybe a little more interesting, but it's a 5. Let's see. Now this thing has a value of 2, same language, same religion, so it's also not adjacent or whatever. But I have a claim which doesn't affect it. So it's also, it's this base value of 2, and a 5 is still good. So we get 2 more bucks out of it. And I think that's pretty much everything. Here and here I cannot tax. This is also not possible here. So I think I've taxed everything I can to the maximum. So that gives me now an income of exactly 10 bucks. And This is not an endeavor or something, that is something I can simply do once per round. And now we can continue our campaign here. We have a little more money now, so we spend another $2 to make the second attack here against Naples. And let's see again, we have that value of 5, minus 1 is a 4, that 0, it is a different church, that's a +1, it's an unrelated language, so that's overall we have to subtract 3 then, so we are at 1. So I think I'm going to throw in, yeah, hard to tell, maybe $5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Oops. Yeah, no, that's right. And then we're going to simply flip this card. We are now at a strength of 6. And yeah, that kind of sucked. That's not good enough. And again, we have now here a leader check. These cards are really rare that you have to check all numbers here. So that means the leader will die, and that's pretty bad because Constantine is a good leader. But because there's a 5 down here, which was his base value in combat, the guy dies. And because he was below 8, that means the active base will be reduced by 1, which is also pretty bad. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we got to do a stature check. So that means again we roll on one of these tables. So you see there's a lot of die rolling on the tables here, and we start with the combat value here. The current stature is a 5, so now we roll 2 dice and see what we end up with. That's a 9, so that is a 2. Holy crap, that's not good at all. Wait a second, there we are. Current administration value is a 3. That's a 4. Let's see what we get. Oh, that's a 5. That's pretty solid. So that's cool. We can definitely use that to improve the social status of our empire. And finally, the diplomacy area, or the diplomacy value, is 3. And that is an 8. So that remains the same here. Okay, so I mean the guy is not too bad. But of course he's not a great fighter anymore. So I think it's not a good idea to start another attack against Naples at that point, simply because, first of all, I don't have a ton of money left. In addition, the social state of this was now reduced even further, and yeah, my combat value decreased. So overall, I think it's going to be hard to take that, at the moment at least. Instead, what I can do, I can try to improve the social state of some areas simply by using the ruling action, and that is possible with the administration rating, which is now definitely a good one. So let's see where I want to do that. Well, I think I want to do this in areas where I'm yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, 0 might make a lot of sense, because then I can bring the area to a taxable state. So let's do it in Anatolia, for example. So ruling doesn't cost me anything. So we have a 5 here, the active leader's administration stature, and the social state of the target area, that is at the moment at 0. And then we subtract, wait a minute, yeah, if it's a positive level, the social state, we would have to subtract that. And the language modifier and religion modifier, well, that's all neglectable here. There is no relevant modifiers here. So basically we have a 5, which is not too bad. And we're going to simply flip the next card and check ruling, and that kind of sucked because it's a -1, and because we are under 7. Okay, so this goes down to -1 now, and that is pretty bad because I'm pretty sure that will bring Anatolia into unrest, but I will check that. Okay, yeah, actually, if you do a if an endeavor, a domestic endeavor, which ruling is, fails, then you have to check the area in which that was, in which that happened. It's not quite clear what is the base and what is the... Usually it says you have to check the target area of that endeavor. And in the rules, it is written that the ruled area is the target of the endeavor. However, here it says you have to reduce the active base. So these kind of little ambiguities are pretty common in the game. I assume that we have to check here if there is a rebellion. So, but it shouldn't be too bad. Let me see. We have basically... Let me see. Language. That is all the same. Connected to an independent area of the same language and religion. That is not the case. Well, it seems like actually there is basically no rebellion value here, but it is checked on the 1 column anyway. Okay, so now let's see what we get. I mean, it's super unlikely that it happens, but not impossible. That was actually close. An 11 would have brought the area into unrest, but in that way we're good. Just a wasted action. And so what do I want to do now? I think I want to try the same thing here in Sicily. Maybe, but I'm not sure about that. So now I want to try to rule Sicily and improve the social state there. Now, this is another special situation here. Because now we have a sea area in between a route from the court to the province. So we go from Constantinople here, then we can go through this here. There's a connection here, and we go to Greece, and then here there is the Ionian Sea between that. Basically, it's still allowed to do an action if there is a sea area in between, but that costs an additional die. If there would be an additional buck. If there would be two sea areas in between, what would happen is that we have to pay the buck, and that our leader statue, the base value, I'm not absolutely positive, no, I think it's actually the whole value, but I have to check that if it happens, would have been halved. So it's much harder to do these actions if there are two sea areas in between. The Byzantines are seafaring people, though. That shows that symbol here. There are others like that too. For example, here, the Danes or the Norwegians, or the guy here, the Venetians. These are seafaring people. And if you trace a path through a sea area where there are seafaring people, then basically this effect is lowered by one sea area. So that means I can do now also operations which are 3 sea areas away, but that gives me then the full penalty that I otherwise had for 2 sea areas. So the halved leader rating and the money. For 2 sea areas I have to pay 1 buck, and if there would be only 1 sea area through a seafaring people symbol, then I could do that just like it would be over land. So in this case we have to pay the extra buck, because if we trace a chain here, then the sea that would be affected would not be adjacent to the seafaring people's area. I mean, I could also do it like this, but that would be the same effect then, because then this area would basically not count, and I still have to pay the buck for the first area. So we're going to do that. We're going to pay 1. We have a 5 here. I mean, I could pay more, but I don't want to do that. I'm just going to try it. And same religion. Well, however, it's a different language. Maybe that's a little too risky then. And I promise, if I'm done with this guy, I'm going to do all these things off camera. It's just this one time to show you a little bit. So let me see here. Ruling, target area. Well, the social status is 0. Gosh. Language and religion modifier. Yeah, so that means I have to subtract probably 2. It's a different, an unrelated language. Yeah. So that means I would be at 3. Yeah, I don't like that terribly much. So I think I'm going to spend 2 additional bucks here. That's not exactly cheap, but I want to do it anyway. So that brings me up to 5. And now I'm just hoping for the best here. Let's see what we get. Yeah, it sucked. No result at all. So again, some wasted money. Now I might consider keeping a card for defense in case that Charlemagne tries to do, for example, diplomatic attacks against my areas or so. But yeah, maybe I want to do that. I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to keep 1 card for defense purposes. Although it probably doesn't really matter. He's so much stronger in diplomacy than I am that it doesn't really matter. I think I want to try again to do a successful ruling action. And shit. Well, actually, I see now that this is... yeah. By the way, I don't have to check the rebellion here. It was a failed endeavor, but the social state was not decreased. You only have to check for a rebellion if the social state was decreased. So I think I'm going to try it again, and I'm going to pay all my money now. So that's a 5, minus 2 for the different languages, a 3. And then I can add $3, so I'm at 6, and I have to pay 1 for the additional sea area. And again, I wasn't successful, fuck. But at least I'm above 5, so that means that this is not further reduced. So that was a pretty painful and bad round for the Byzantines here. So then it's Charlemagne, and we draw an event card for him. And it's another year of plenty. And that affects mainly Italy and also parts of Spain. So that's kind of neat. We're going to increase the social state in these areas and then see what he does. So the funny thing was that thanks to this year of plenty, in Sicily we have now a social state of +1 anyway. So all that ruling was pretty much wasted. But, well, it's not bad, and gives us an additional taxation option, at least. Okay, so what is my plan here? Well, first of all, I also want to do, I'm not sure if I want to do ruling actions. I think I might prefer, I have a very high combat rating, so I think I will try to expand my empire, especially onto these areas where I have a claim already, Lombardy, Tuscany, Rome, then maybe to Verona, Venice. This is a super rich area that would be awesome to get. And yeah, I mean, this is a pretty rich area now too. And also we have some rich areas down there, for example. So there are lots of possible targets here. Also here, these are nice areas. Yeah, we'll see, I guess. We'll see. I think I'm gonna do that off camera and then tell you what the results were. Okay, now I think what I want to do, and I can do this a little bit on camera, I wanna start to rule some of these areas which are adjacent to possible targets, try to improve them to make an attack against these targets easier for me. So I think I want to start with Switzerland, for example. That's a 0. That should be easy to rule. So got a 9, same language, same religion, social state is not subtracted, so we simply draw a card, and again this time it goes up 1 space, +1. Very good. So we got a +1 here. Now I could try it actually right away again, and yeah, I think I will. So let's try this again. This time my value is reduced by 1 because this is now subtracted. It gets harder when it is positive. So we're gonna draw 1, and well, it would fall down, but we are above 6, so we're good. Our administration is 9 minus 1 would have been 8 then. I'm gonna try that again. Ruling costs me nothing, and yeah, we did good here, so this goes up 1. And remember, that is good for taxation because yeah, so we are at +2 here, and that's as good as it can get. 2 above above the starting number, which was 0. So we have two more actions. So let's see, maybe Burgundy would be interesting, or Provence. Yeah, I think I want to rule. Well, on the other hand, if I do the attack now, I could maybe finish it in this turn. Not that it really matters, but hey, why not? So yeah, let's do it. So we're gonna first I want to do taxation, I think. Or do I want to rule and maybe do the attack in the next turn? Yeah, I think I want to do that. So I'm going to try to rule in Provence. And we have to subtract a little bit because this is an unrelated language. Therefore, we got to subtract 2, which brings us to an administration value of 7, which is still absolutely amazing. And, well, in this case, no negative result because we are at 7, and we're going to use our last one. And holy shit, this goes actually down 1 step. That sucked. That's not good. So it's a -1 here. And we got to check for a rebellion, which is very unlikely. Yeah, no rebellion here. That was an 8. Okay, that's pretty much then the end of the turn. And you can see, you know, if I go through this here on camera, it takes all very long. But basically all you do is once you have the numbers in your head, and that actually goes fairly quick, you simply flip these cards one after another and see if you're successful or not. And this is something, well, that's not very interesting on camera, but during a game it's a quick play. Okay, so let's come to the next turn now, and it's also the next round. So this goes up now, which brings us to the year 7045. And this is now our first complete game round. So first we have to check again on the schism table what happens here. Holy shit, that could be interesting. That's a 12. And I think we might see something special here. Let me see. So there is... Well, actually, this is not a tie. This is a... No possession or tie to Rome. We rolled a 12. Not even now something is happening. No change. Only a 2 would have actually helped us. A claim is not the same as a tie. So in this case, well, actually Rome is here. So no change here. So I realized I forgot taxation, and I did that now. And I was more or less successful. Basically everywhere I ended up with 13 bucks. But we have an unrest here in Switzerland. Because, yeah, I rolled poorly here. And that means that, well, basically for now it just means that the chance of a rebellion rises. So if I would tax these guys now again, it would give me a +5 modifier for the unrest alone. So that would be extremely risky. But I can get rid of an unrest if I do a ruling attempt. And then, if the result is not a decrease of the social state, so it doesn't have to be a success, just it does not have to be, it must not be a decrease, then the unrest would go away. So it's not terrible, but it can be risky, because in spaces where there is unrest, for example, a magnate could show up, and and there are also some event cards which would give you problems if you have a lot of spaces with unrest in your territory. Okay, next turn. We don't have raiders. I rolled a die here following my house rules. We don't have a magnate. So I started now, and the Byzantine player drew a diplomatic coup. By playing this card, a player may remove a foreign diplomatic tie to one of his areas. Once played, this card is discarded. And it shows here a hold. So that means the player can hold this card, and you can hold up to 3 cards. So right now we don't have any diplomatic ties. It's not the same as claims. So therefore there is no reason for him to play that card. What I'm going to do is I'm not sure. Maybe I'm going to rule a few areas and then do taxation, but I'm not convinced. Let's see what we do. So after some successful administrative endeavors, Trebizond at +2, Anatolia from -1 to +1, my leader eventually died again. So again we have to check, and maybe we get a better fighter this time. That would be kind of cool. So we have a 2 for now. That's a 6. Let's see. There we are. So that brings us to a 3, which is at least some improvement. Administration, yeah, I'm afraid that might go down from a 5. That's a 10. Yeah, that's a 2 now. Fuck. That's pretty bad. Administration is important. But at least we managed to do at least a bit, and my kingdom is not in such bad shape except for Macedonia and Apulia. And finally diplomacy. That's an 8, a 3. So that remains the same. Okay. Not that great. So I got one more action to do. First I want to do taxation, and then I might try maybe a conversion. I could try to convert the slaves here. That is or the Slavonic group, the South Slavonic language group. If I manage to convert only a single area here to Christianity from pagan, well, actually I think only these guys are pagan. I think Macedonia is already Eastern Orthodox. So I have to take Serbia first, and because you only can convert areas where you already possess. But then if you manage to convert one of these countries, all the language group will be converted, which would mean that I would get 15 points for that, because each converted area gives me 5 points. So that would be definitely cool. And what we do, if these guys convert, I suggest if they convert someone, they divide the points through 3 or by 3 when the kingdom is split then. So after the taxation I ended up with 13 bucks, which is quite a bit, but I also ended up with some unrest here in Adrianople. So I think I want to do a rule action there, although this is a little tricky here with an administration value of only 2, but one would be subtracted because it has a social status of 1, so I would only be at 1. I think what I want to do is I'm going to spend 5 bucks, and that brings me up to 6 then, and I hope that this is good enough. Fuck, it isn't. Actually, It even loses one. And now a rebellion is quite likely. So this goes down by 1. And now we have to check on the rebellion table. So that happens if you have a bad administrator here. Okay, so the problem is we are already in unrest. So that gives us a +5 here. However, all the other stuff is good. We share the same religion, different church, same church, it's the same language. So yeah, that means we are at 5, but there is a chance that they will now fall away from our empire. Well, that's a 7, that's okay. Nothing happened here. But that's not good. We got to do something about these guys pretty soon, but the only thing we can do is by ruling, which, yeah, well, not that great. Okay, Charlemagne now. And he also has a similar problem here in Switzerland. First he's going to draw an event card. Okay, that says enlargement of king's personal division. The player who possesses this card automatically receives 1 point of gold each round during taxation. This card is automatically lost if the owner's leader dies heirless. Okay, that is not going to happen pretty soon because Charlemagne cannot die at the moment, so that's definitely cool. And I want to try to do a ruling action here because that's a +2. We need a 7, or we have an administration value of 7 here. So let's see what we get. And this time it's working well. That's a +1. So that means we can remove that. This cannot rise any further, but the unrest is gone, and that is definitely cool. So now I'm actually considering maybe ruling in a few of these areas, then do the taxation, and then an attack against Lombardy. That seems reasonable, I guess. Okay, I was successful in ruling Burgundy and Swabia. It didn't work out, but it was also no negative effect. I'm going to try an attack from Switzerland to Lombardy now. And we're going to pay $2 here. We can add 2. So we are at 11. We got to subtract 2 because of this, so we are back to 9. And then it's a different language. So we are at 7. And yeah, I think that's good enough. I think I wanna do that attack. So yeah, and we just made it. That's a 7. So that was my first success, and then I'm gonna because there's a population of 2 there, I gotta do another attack. Gonna throw in 2 more bucks, and well, actually, not even the base lost something. That was pretty good here. Yeah, so yeah, let's try the same thing again, and that wasn't that great. The conquest result is nothing, but the active base loses 1 social state, which kind of sucks. Okay, so we're back at +1 here. So that's it. I'm going to do the taxation now, and I'm going to place a partial marker here because I didn't quite make it. So there we are. No, wait a minute. This is not the one I wanted. Endeavor. Where is it? Here we go, I think. Yeah, that's... Okay, cool. So, yeah, I'm gonna do the taxation. Okay, well, that wasn't too great. I managed to get $14, which is fine, but I ended up with unrest here in Friesland, in Champagne, and in the Ile-de-France. So that's something I have to handle in the next turn, and then we're gonna try to continue with that attack here on Lombardy. But for now I'm out of cards, and yeah, I think it's time to load this up now. So you see, when I'm doing this on camera, this is not super interesting, but in the future it's gonna be much quicker, and the game will become much more interesting if the empire here is split, and if we then have 6 empires on the board, because now everybody is doing more or less his own thing, and there's also this optimizing of the empires at the beginning of the game. But once it's all established, this is going to be definitely a more interesting game. Okay, so it only takes us about 20 videos and 50 hours of play before it gets interesting. Not quite that long, but it will take some time. Hope to see you in the next video or on lonesomegamer.com. Bye.